Hello and welcome to Coming Into Being. And I just realized that I don't have any water next to me. So hopefully I won't get a little too pasty in the mouth talking. But we'll make do. We'll make do. This is what happens. We kind of get rolling on something and we're not all set and clear and we're focused and we think we've got everything, and then there's something that's a little off, and we just have to just keep moving forward. So no problems. So let's take a deep breath in, and I am going to get some water. I will be right back in 2 seconds. Okay, have a bottle of water right next to me. Close enough because I know it's just not going to work. So Lydia's here and Wisdom Happy and Sydney. Hello, everybody. So let's get settled back in and take a nice deep breath in. Hold it at the top. Just hold it and focus on that, holding that breath, and notice how your body is tensing around it. And then slowly exhale it out. Just And to slowly exhale, your throat should be nice and relaxed. It's just a question of how large the opening is with your mouth. You just keep letting it out, letting it out, letting it out, all the way out. Focusing on that air going through the lips. And when you've squeezed all the air out, your body will automatically kick back into taking that breath in. And Cherie is popping up today. Hello, Cherie. Oh, well, here's another thing. All right. And probably you should be hearing me better now on YouTube. So here we are. And then focusing on your chest. Just notice your breath going in and out. And notice how deep the breath is coming into your body more by noticing your body, how your body is functioning in this moment. And just let yourself feel that, pay attention to that rhythm, physically, that expansion and that contraction. Expansion and contraction. And that should be better. Noticing yourself slowing down some. Kind of clearing up people's space. And you have to remember that your space is 360 degrees horizontally and vertically. So spherical. People tend to focus only on what's in front of them. Or are more focused in their head, so they're paying attention to what's in their head, but kind of at a certain level, and below that, they're not really aware. So just notice what I say when that, notice yourself with what I say. And somebody is still in kind of this, it's kind of an ADD mode, actually, hyperactive, kind of focusing on, oh, there's this, there's that, there's this. Over here, I got to take care of that, da-da-da, jumping all over the place. Like running around getting busy to go off to the rest of the day, maybe. And just settling into wherever you're at. Noticing if you're fighting anything. Like it could be mentally fighting, so having this argument with somebody, or energetically, just like, and you may not be doing it physically, but at an energetic level, just kind of like trying to get things off of you. Maybe your energy's kind of feeling a little bit low, or kind of pulling downward, and not in the positive sense of grounding, but in the sense of depression. Depression is not a bad thing. Sometimes your system needs to shut you down to make the adjustments that it needs to. And when I say your system, I'm talking about everything except the human level, human consciousness. I mean, that's part of your system, but that's, with what I just said, is not what is the system. The system is shutting down the human part to make the adjustments it needs to, because if this human steps into the picture, that it's going to get in the way. It's going to try to figure it out. It's going to think it knows where it's going, and that's the problem, and it doesn't. And some of you have maybe more than one thing coming up. So notice what's coming up for you, and just kind of be present with it, focusing on your breath and noticing what is in your space around you. Any of the stuff I've said. Or maybe with more than one. And just let yourself sink into where you are now. Don't try to make yourself in a better place, or think of yourself more higher up than, more advanced, or more on top of things than you are. Let yourself just fall into wherever you are, right here, right now. By trying to fight and fighting, so it's not just verbally, it's not just energetically, but it's just even in terms of what you're telling yourself. It's at a deeper level that's not coming through the thoughts, but that's in the background of, well, I'm better than this. I'm better than that person. I'm better than this situation. I'm better than whatever. If you're in it, you're not, period. Or if you're in it, let me rectify what I just said. If you're in it, there's a part of you that is not. And there's a part of you that, as you become aware of yourself in that, oh yeah, I'm trying to like hold up, is starting to break out of that. So there's both pieces going on. Let's stick with the part that's not higher up. Is that other part is working with us. So we want to get all of those aspects of ourselves, of all of those pieces of ourselves, kind of, or more joining into that. Oh, okay, this is what's going on, and let's move higher. Let's step out of this. So falling into exactly where you are, not fighting yourself, not trying to make it better, not trying to make it different, not trying to see it from a different place, If you're in the shithole, you're in the shithole. End of story. Just see it for what it is. And it could be relative degrees. I'm not saying everybody here is necessarily in the shithole in this really dumpy place. You could be just in kind of in the moments like, oh, this isn't really where I want to be, or I didn't get this done today, or God, this job, or whatever. It might be just this little piece that's showing up, or it could be everything in your life. So just being present with it. And if it feels uncomfortable, that's okay. Just breathe into that discomfort. Because as you sit in that stillness, in that, hey, Carolina just popped in. As you sit in that place of not fighting what is in the present moment, just allow yourself to just like really sit in that, in the muck. Be present in the muck. You're allowing more to come to the surface so that more can clear out of you. As uncomfortable as it feels right now. Okay. Just keep focusing on this as I just shift things a little bit on my end. I won't tell you what I'm doing yet because I just want you to focus on feeling whatever level of shit you're sitting in. Whatever level of discomfort. And just keep your awareness on your breath and notice whatever comes up sort of as your awareness kind of stays on your breath. On that in and out. There we go. And that should might be feeling a little bit of a lightness coming through, even though you're maybe surrounded in muck. Coming more into that breath, no resistance. Surrendering. This is about surrendering, ultimately. And just feeling kind of that irritation, frustration. This is like this is like the weight training class where you have to hold up that weight and you just don't put it down. You just keep holding it. As you keep holding it, you get stronger. So just releasing that resistance to what is. Yeah. And just saying, okay, it's like you throw up your arms and say, okay, this is where I'm at. This is what's going on right now. I don't like it. This is what's going on. I sure as hell would like to change it. But this is what's going on right now. So many other places that I would rather be, so many other people that I would rather be with, so many other whatevers that I would rather be doing at. But as we sit here, it's just allowing things to be. You know, sometimes when we deal with stuff, when we face stuff, got to remember, got to keep in mind maybe like a 2-year-old. And a 2-year-old that's really needing attention, wanting attention, trying to get your attention, however you want to put it. And at first, they're just kind of like, they're a little discomfort, you know, or even an infant. You could go to an infant, or especially, we won't go until older ages because that gets less obvious. So we start having all these mental reasonings for where we're at. So you look at an infant, you look at a toddler, a young child, you know, they get that frustration and they get that discomfort that comes through, and they're like, kind of fussing a little bit, but not really loudly. And then the more this keeps going and they're not getting that relief they need, and maybe, you know, it's taking a toddler where they need like that external source to do it for them, but even a 2-year-old, depending on what that is, you know, getting that attention from the adult to take care of that issue for them, because they're not strong enough, they're not big enough, they can't reach, whatever. Parents know what I'm talking about. And they just kind of get louder and louder and louder and louder, because it's about, you got to take care of me, you got to help me out here, this is getting really uncomfortable. So it's like that situation, that whatever, that's getting louder and louder and saying, no, you got to pay attention, you got to pay attention, you got to pay attention. And you just sit there and you let it be, and you're just like, I'm here, I'm right here, I'm not, it's like, you know, it's, you know how sometimes kids will start just crying because they just want attention, and you just like, when you sit there, so with your stuff, with your discomfort of that situation, when you just sit there and you just surrender, it's like, okay, I'm here, I see you, you don't have to do anything, you just have to sit there and be present and say, I see you. And with a child, of course, maybe that's holding the child and just looking at him in the eye or something, but it's very similar. It's like, I see you. You don't have to do anything else. I notice you, but you know, we're just going to stay right here. I'm not going to get all upset. I'm not going to get sidetracked. I'm not going to get out of my center, because staying in my center is going to take care of this a lot more than anything else. Now, if we want to take the child analogy, you can do that with a child, and it might take a while, but you know what you're teaching your child? It's like, sometimes we go through situations in life where we don't feel comfortable, and let's just sit here and be present with ourselves. We can acknowledge that. You'll find a lot of times you acknowledge kids, it's like, oh, wow, you're really hurting. And then they just like, oh, they just want to be seen. They just want to be heard. That's it. And sometimes it takes more, yeah. But it usually takes more because that hasn't been taken care of that way from the start. And so just sitting with them and aligning and just saying, okay, yeah, sometimes we just go through these things in life, and sometimes you just sit there and take a breath, sit for a moment, realize where you're at, and then you start having a better sense of what you need to do. And everybody's calming down. Just, we haven't done anything, just have to sit there and just be sitting and present. Grounded you guys a little bit way back when I said I'm doing something, let me work on my end. I'm not going to tell you what I want to do because I wanted you to stay focused on your shit instead, like, okay, focus on grounding. Focus on being present with yourself. Focusing on that breath. It doesn't matter what's happening around you, focusing on your breath. You know, the more you practice here, the more you practice on your own when it's quiet, the more you start practicing when it's like, it's kind of noisy around here, let me focus in on my breath, the less things will throw you off easily. And again, it's not about making things better. It's not about shifting them today. It's about just sitting with the shit, you know, and being able to just stay present, stay with yourself, stay centered, and just like, okay, this is where I'm at. This is what's going on. This is what's happening. And oftentimes it's in those moments of just throwing your hands up in the air and saying, okay, I give up. I surrender. That your answer will, your answer, your guidance, you're going to get, just start moving in the direction you need to go into. Okay, now bring your awareness down to the core of the earth. Keep your awareness down there for a moment, just to connect in more deeply. And wisdom happy, drop down even further because you're not even close. You're only about halfway there. And that's your tendency, you know, so it feels grounded because it is more grounded than you usually are. Just drop down even further. So just keep focusing into the core of the earth, the core of the earth, core of the earth. Keep going, keep going. I'll tell you when you get there. So just keep going. And everybody else can just hang out in the connection there, the core. That's good. I'll just kind of strengthen it in this moment. You're getting closer. You're about 3/4 of the way down now. So keep going. And just keep your awareness on that core of the earth. That's pulling you down. Okay, so just taking a deep breath into that. And breathing up those frequencies, the earth, back up. Okay. Simple, not necessarily easy to do, but simple. Nothing fancy. No special devices. Just this space. You know, I will say that it's just the space. So that makes it a little bit easier because you've got a group are all focusing the same way. You've got me holding the space. You got everybody joining in. So that provides more bandwidth for this holding, for this surrendering, for the letting go. So it makes it easier because there's more bandwidth for that. but it's simple, you know. And part of the need for all these devices that we have, because we get hit by so much. There's so much going on in our environments, even in terms of wavelengths, and so it takes a lot more internal bandwidth, since we're talking about bandwidth, to hold that for ourselves regardless than it does if you're sitting out in the woods in a calm environment. So you're not getting attacked by a bear or anything, but in a calm situation in the woods, you know. So the key is to keep developing that bandwidth for yourself so that you can hold more strongly. And whatever is keeping you from holding that from yourself is within yourself, is within your programming, is within your patterns. And so coming back to the question for yourself of what's inside of me that's creating the situation, that's pulling this situation to me, that's acting like this magnet, this situation to me. I remember a long time ago in healing school, one of the teachers put it very clearly. It's like she was talking about herself and with this realization that she's had. It's like, you know, about relationship, about the person's horns fit exactly into the holes that she had. So it's like your puzzle piece is like that. This external piece that's just messing with you is like this. It fits right in. Perfect match. So the question is, what's creating this over here inside of you? You want to shift it to that. So this comes in, doesn't fit, falls away. It's that simple. And yet it's not always obvious. It's not always easy to get to. But you start asking yourself, okay, what's inside of me that's bringing this out? We can talk about people, we can explain the situation at the physical level, and sometimes that's fine. We need to do that to understand kind of that structure that's happening there so that we can unwind it and take care of the details that we need to at this level. But ultimately, we need to come back to that, what's inside here. If you want to move on to something different for yourself. Great analogy, says Caroline. Makes it easier to kind of see it, because in an analogy, we kind of have that step back. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. And it's a little easier to access. You know, we all go through this, and this can be the hardest part to admit to ourselves on this journey. It's like we want to be so much farther along than we might be, than we usually are, you know, and that's part of the training we get. You know, I mean, if you look at the religious paradigm, really kind of pushes us into wanting to be further along than we are, because otherwise we're not going to get to heaven. We're going to be stuck in purgatory, or God knows what else. We're going to be going to hell. So of course you want to be better off than you are. in a better place, to show that yourself that you're a good person, that you've done well, so you can be taken and being accepted into heaven. I mean, what the hell? It's like, don't we have enough of school here? I don't know about you guys, but you know, it's like getting graded on how well you're doing, you know, compared to, you know, this perfection, line of perfection. So it's kind of crazy. We really kind of hurt ourselves that way in falling into that frame of reference. And also there's this other piece in the psychology here that comes in. It's this lifetime. If you think about how long you've been on this path and on this journey to evolve into the higher state of being, we're talking a long time. We're talking about a time that is longer than your mind can comprehend, can grasp. And it's going to keep going for that much time in the other direction. So if you think about your life and you think about something that happens for literally just a minute, maybe check for 1 minute, see how much. That's sort of like this lifetime and how long you've been working on something and how long you're, relative to how long you've been moving in that ascension process and how much you'll be doing afterwards. So give yourself a break. Just, you are where you're at. That's okay. That's. And as soon as you get to that place of just saying, okay, this is where I'm at, then you can start really having a clearer sense for yourself of okay, this is where I'm at. It's like looking at the furniture in your room. It's like, okay, we've got all this furniture that is falling apart. It's like finally saying, this furniture is falling apart. Every time I sit on that couch, it just like collapses backwards because that leg is broken, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But if you're just kind of like, oh no, the couch is fine, this is fine, everything looks great, it's still shit. So looking at where things are at, this is where it's at. You can even make a list for yourself if you want to. This is where I'm at. This is what I don't like. This is what's going on in my life right now. Do you still want it? You make that list, you look at that, it's like, well, okay, now it's really clear. Especially if you write it down, it's really clear because it's right there. You've written it. You've acknowledged it for yourself. That's fantastic. That's a really powerful thing to do. I like that idea. Yeah. And then you look at that list and you can consciously look at that and say, is this what I want? Nope. It's like, okay, yeah, I can see how this might be useful right now. Whatever comes up. Go through that list. Is this what I want? Yeah. So for the things that you don't want, it's like, what do you, if you could choose anything for yourself, take one thing at a time, what would you choose? And write that out. It's like, well, okay, got this shitty furniture. I'm going to continue with the furniture analogy. I've got this couch that keeps collapsing every time even the cat jumps on it. What do you want? I want a nice couch to sit on that's comfy, that you can just relax in, just kind of sink in. Write that out. So write out what you want. I want this. I want this. I want this. I want this. Step 3. Okay, got 3. This is the third step I'm getting. I'll recap them for you. Look at that, what you want, and ask yourself every single one. If I could have a couch that I could just sit in that was comfy, would I choose that? Very important step. Yes or no? You might be surprised. You might think oh yeah, I really want this. And when you ask yourself, if I could choose this right now, would I do that? And you're like, oh no, I guess I wouldn't. It might be something else. There might be maybe you want a love seat instead of a couch. Maybe you want, I don't know, or a big lounge chair. You realize it's like when you ask yourself that, you realize it's like, oh wait, no, that's really not quite what I want. And then I think this is step 4. We'll recap. So I think I'm going on to step 4 here. And then with each one, you say, I choose, fill in the blank. I choose to have a couch that is comfortable, that I can just sink into and feel and just relax into. You don't have to do anything else. The rest,
This is part of letting your system know, and your system, so your spirit know. It's like, no, I want to choose something else. This is what I want to choose for myself. And it's okay to choose later something different to what you're choosing now. So again, step one, write down exactly what is going on. No fudging around. No, well, this is happening because this person, because that noise, because that whatever. Just write down exactly what is going on. Not what the other person is doing, just exactly where you're at. Not what that, really get down precisely. Kids are screaming, I can't deal with it. It's like, whatever. Okay, step one, exactly what is the actual clear picture for yourself right now. Step two, what is it that you look at that? Look at that list. So what is it that you want? Well, I want the kids to be quiet and taking care of the chickens without being asked, or whatever. I'm just making things up here. Then you go through what you want. You write down all those things you want around this piece over here. Step three, you look at each one of those that you've written. It's like, ask yourself, okay, if I could have X, Y, Z, would I actually choose it right now? Would I say yes to that? Would I? And either yes or no. It's so, if you say, no, I don't really want that, that's fine. Maybe there's just something, you got to refine that a little bit. That's fine. Just say no. Go down your list. And with everything that you've said, yes, I would choose this right now. Make the statement. So now we're in step 4. Make that statement of saying, I choose to have a nice, comfortable couch I could just sink in to. You start to set the wheels in motion into a different direction for yourself. It might happen overnight, it might not, but you start putting juice into that direction. You start feeding that engine to go into that direction of what you really are consciously choosing. Because where you're at right now has not been chosen by yourself from a conscious level. So you want to shift that. If you're in a shitty situation, you probably have not consciously said, I'm going to go into this place where I'm going to get have the crap beat out of me. That's not a conscious choice. Unconsciously, you might know you're going into that situation, but consciously, you're not thinking, oh yeah, this is going to be great. Yeah, maybe, but most likely not. Totally doing this later tonight and tomorrow. Yeah. And you don't necessarily do it once. You can do it every day. What's going on with yourself right now? Where do you feel right now? Like when you wake up in the morning, where do you feel in the morning when you wake up? If you feel shitty about, you wake up in your environment, it's like, God, I'd really like to be somewhere else. It's like, okay, where am I here right now? Why do I want to be somewhere else? Obviously, if you want to be somewhere else, then it's like, okay, where am I at right now? That's making me feel uncomfortable. Well, there's this, there's that. I don't like this. Step 1, state exactly where things are at, where you are at. Step 2, it's like, well, what do you want? Step 3, ask yourself for each of those statements. Would I choose this? If I could have, and literally say the whole phrase, like, if I could have this couch right now, would I choose it? Like in this moment, if somebody were to just come up and offer you the couch and say, okay, here you go, would I choose it? So you've got to, literally ask yourself very concisely, if I could have X, Y, Z now, would I choose that? Really don't just jump up and say yes because it's counter to that. You really kind of like feel, would I really choose that? Yes or no? And sometimes no will come up. That's okay. And for the yeses, Step 4, saying, I choose XYZ. It really starts to help open the doors and starts to get you moving in that direction. It will bring stuff for you, forward for you. Your spirit will hear you. It's like, oh, okay. The universe will hear you. It's like, oh, she's like choosing something else. Wait, okay, we got to like shift this into another direction. And, you're also going to get things coming your way that will be needed for you to do, for you to look at, for whatever. So yeah, real good. All right. Exhale everything out. And the next exhale, just exhale it all out. Everything. Letting your breath just come back in. Dropping your awareness to the core of the earth. And just notice how easier it is this time. It's a little bit easier. Wisdom happy, you still have a little bit of a problem, difficulty with that. That's just to know, just to be aware of. So, yeah. So just focus longer on connecting into the earth. Basically, just kind of when you want to ground, you're going to have to hold it longer. And yeah, there you go. And it's happening slowly. So just give yourself that time to ground in. And the more you do that, you'll be able to start doing it faster, but don't try to make it happen faster. That's the catch. Just give yourself the time to do it. Yeah. There we go. And on your next inhale, just coming back in. Yes, very nice. Very nice. Breathing back in that clarity, that purity of frequency from the earth. Yeah, very good. All right. There you go. All right, good job, everybody. Good work. It's this passive stuff here. It feels like it's passive because, well, we're not doing anything. We get so trained into wanting to do. We got to do something. We got to spin our wheels this way. We've got to do X, Y, Z. I mean, those are fun too. We got to spin our Merkabas. We got to get that Kundalini going. It's like just kind of sitting there and letting all of that happen, because it's in that trying to do stuff that we keep actually all that stuff from happening. Yeah, very good. Yeah, that lawnmower thing is just this control pattern that. So let me explain that. So there's a problem with the lawnmower. It's like the last 3 Wednesdays straight at the same time when we coming in the meeting. You gotta love that though. This has happened to all of us. So, but this is you're bringing it up very tangibly. So here's the unfoldment, guys. There's this pattern here in you that looks like that. Something's going to fit in there. So you say, well, somebody else is like, how can it be, the neighbor? I'm not saying anything to the neighbor that I'm doing this and not to mow the lawn. It doesn't matter. Everybody knows everything all the time at that non-physical level. And so at that non-physical level, there's this thing that's going, got to fill it up, got to fill up, got to fill up, got to get that thing that's really bugging the shit out of me to come in and fit in here. And so somebody's going to comply and say, okay, I'll do that. This looks good. I'll fit right by. The pain is connected to fear. Okay, so there's a lot of fear that about being present, and that's fine. Just know, yeah, and just understand that it's like your system is um, on. You're still in that high alert, and you don't get out of high alert very quickly. You're not at that place in yourself to have control over that fear, and it connects up to that control piece. So just realize that, and just take extra time where in that space where you can, when you can, to slow that down. Yeah, peeing all the time, an ongoing issue. You're living in constant fear. You might not consciously be aware of it, but that's what your body is signaling to you. That's what your system is signaling. It's like your adrenals are always kind of, and that's making you pee all the time. You know, so yeah, a lot of fear in your system. Fear is there. There are certain issues that are more difficult to work with. Fear, control, are two that are very difficult to work with. Abuse, it takes a lot of unwinding to unfold that. And so just let yourself feel the frustration. Yeah, you can. Yeah, so you can be aware it's fear, but then, the only way to deal with that is to just let yourself kind of feel that more and more and stretch that. So it's that PTSD. I think I've mentioned that to you before, but it's sort of that PTSD untraining, deprogramming, call it, where you have to be able to take yourself to that place and just a little to that edge and a little bit, where it's kind of, you start to feel uncomfortable, and you go just a little past that, where you can still hold it. It's a little bit more intense, but you can still be present with it, and breathe into that and let yourself become familiar with that without backing off, without running away. And then that becomes your new level. So it's like, this is the level of tolerance, and you want to be, which I can't see my hands too far on Instagram, but your tolerance level is here, and you want to be at that level. It's like, okay, you take yourself to that level of stress and just feel that more intensely, breathe into that. Let yourself sit there and feel that discomfort. It's a lot easier if you're doing it with somebody who can hold the space too. But sometimes there's a certain amount of this you can do for yourself. And then this becomes your new level. So you've just shifted. It might be just a hairline, but you've just shifted a little bit. Take a break, go off, do something else. When you come back to it, not necessarily immediately, but the next time you go into it, so you're at your new level, you go to your new level, and you just stretch a little bit more and sit there until you become comfortable with that. That's how you do it. Recovering for PTSD is all about going past the comfortable, and just enough that you're not pulling out and running back, because it's like a rubber band. Because if you stretch too far, your system will pull you back so fast and so much further back than where you started. So the trick with that is just past your comfort zone, just enough that you're stretching yourself. It's like muscles, stretching your muscles, making your muscles stronger. They do exactly the same thing. You go past the limit, but not to the point where you're just boom, because if you do, you're going to take yourself further back than where you were to begin with. And you're going to have a lot more, and probably a lot further back. So you're going to like double the amount of, measure. If we're using kind of the space as measurement, double that width, that length that you've got to traverse. So yeah, and Yeah. So there we have it, guys. Big, good session. Lots of good stuff there. Having our new moon, I think some of you will be joining that new moon event tomorrow. That should be really good. Yeah, I was just tuning in today, earlier, about what we kind of need to focus on, just kind of feeling into it. It's very interesting. Yeah, so it's going to be some interesting stuff. Focusing on tradition, but I don't think people realize the importance of cleaning that up for ourselves and flashing that value donation up there for those who are inclined to. It's like, oh yeah, okay, let's do this. Feels good. I feel like I got in a good. And coming back, yeah, even bad energies. I kind of saw it before, but I want to really just anchor that back in. Bad energies in place, it makes me pee. Yeah, because your system is going, get me, terror just pops in. And you're not even aware of you're not even consciously aware of the stuff that is kicking you into fear. You're not ready to know. I can see some of the stuff, and you're not at a level to face all of it, but little by little you're going to have to work through it. So that those rings of fire kind of thing that I've talked to you about before, little by little. And it's so that gets back, last point, guys, that gets back what I just said of just you're not at the level to face. And this is for, there's just a lot of programming like that. It's like your system will only take you to the level that you can hold and stay at. It's not going to push you further. It's the human mind that says, oh yeah, no, I'm at a much higher level. Another reason to like really be clear about where you're at, to not push yourself way above, because it's like you'd be, if you were to go all the way to where you think you can go, could be 1,000 times higher than what you're really able to do. It'd be like, oh yeah, I can bungee jump without that cord. It's like, no, you're going to crash, and you're really going to seriously damage yourself. So, and I've been there, so I can tell you from personal experience that your mind will be going, I can handle this. Because intellectually, it seems like, oh, piece of cake. This is like so simple. Don't worry. Your system, your spirit, your system has got you covered. Don't even go there. And just trust that peace of that internal peace, that internal guidance, that it's going to take you where you need to go. Might not be as far as you want, but it knows. It's got your back that way. It knows what you can handle. It does not want you to like. It wants to keep moving forward. So, all right, guys. So, good long session today. A lot of good stuff and some good information. Yeah, and if you try that process, do share. It's always fun to know what people have. What people get out of this stuff, and share the experiences and share the journey. So that's always fun to hear. So until next time, same place, same time, in the ethers, if it's not in person.